Hello and welcome to week 10 of our Youth Alpha recap videos with me, Antony.
And me, Darren.
And together we form the movement Catalyst Youth UK, which is looking at bringing young people together all across the south of the UK and hopefully branching further into the UK, depending where you're watching this from now. We have been doing these videos now for 10 weeks where we've been recapping on an Alpha course, which we do every Monday. And if you haven't seen the rest of our videos, you can find them on our website, which you can see on the screen now, as well as in a playlist on our YouTube. I think it is just called Catalyst Lockdown Alpha Videos. So find that there. And if you've got any questions, you can also see our email addresses on the screen. Don't be afraid to contact us and ask about it.
Yeah, definitely. You can contact us using our email addresses on the screen, as Antony said. And also there's a message system on our website as well if you don't want to email us and you want to be anonymous. Or, you know, most of you have got our numbers anyway, so jump on and send us a text message. We don't mind answering questions at all. But today's topic is evil. How can I resist evil? Now, we did a question that wasn't even on the list, which was really cool. We started off on a real tangent of things, and suddenly this question just popped in. And how would you define evil? Now, we had lots of different answers to that. I mean, one of my answers is, you know, which is going to be a real controversial answer, and that is pineapple on pizza. That is pure evil. It should not be on there.
Comment on this in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you don't put fruit on a pizza. Full stop. End of story. Done. We had somebody who said that evil is their language teachers, and then they changed it later on to their maths teacher, and then kind of went, actually, all teachers. Not quite sure all teachers are evil. She probably just thought of that because they make her do work, and she doesn't want to do it. Someone said that anything negative that impacts on another person is evil. One person just said 2020. This current year that we're in now is just evil with the pandemic that's going on and everything else that's happening within the world at the moment. There is so much evil out there. Somebody said anything that causes pain is evil. Someone also said that ISIS or war is also evil. And then somebody jumped in and went, Darren's last comment. So obviously I'm Darren, and my comment of pineapple on pizza is evil. No, pineapple should not actually be on pizza. Something that's done on purpose to hurt another person can be classed as evil. Something that's done intentionally, bullying, and even greed. Now, these have been some really, really good answers that our young people gave us yesterday. And for a question that we just plucked out of the sky, it was really good to hear some of the things that they thought. But let's move on now to our first question, which is...
If you had the power to solve one of the world's big problems, which problem would you solve and why? Now, before you hear our answers, let's hear what the public had to say on the video, because me and Darren noticed there's some very close answers to what we heard within our group as well.
I would solve the problem of people not having enough water.
Equality. I think everyone's equal, no matter like race, culture, heritage, any of that.
World leader corruption.
Either world peace, world hunger, you know what I mean? And one of those is everybody's got to eat.
Hunger. Probably world hunger.
Poverty, because like being in LA, there's so many people on the streets, and it's just like there are nights where it's really cold.
It'll be race, just because, you know, a lot of race wars are started in this world right now.
World peace, and stop the suffering and wars.
Well, I'm studying neuroscience at the minute, so I'd like to help alleviate like mental health, stigma and stuff like that.
I'd love to solve greed. The fact that, you know, like 10 people have the same amount of money as 10 billion people, which is totally wrong because there's not even 10 billion on the planet, but you know what I mean, like that kind of thing.
There would just be a better way of taking care of kids who are either orphaned or removed from their families that are not so great for them.
So there we heard from the public there, quite a few of them had answers that were similar, some were different, but actually from what you'll notice from what our group said, we had a lot of matches. We did begin by saying, actually, there's so many problems in the world that how can you pick? It's a tough one. I mean, an example is I went to Darren first last night, and the way we do it on our Zoom call is we'll go around and make sure everyone gets a say. And I went to Darren and I went, you tell us first. And straight away he said, come back to me because there's so many, I need to work out which one is the top priority. Which I think is true. When you're put on the spot to think of a problem, you suddenly think about actually how much is going on around us. So we continued round. We had someone say they'd like to solve the problem of homelessness, so everyone had a roof over their head. We had a couple people say they'd like to solve the problem of greed, because the root cause of most problems comes from greed, that greed for more power, for more money, for more respect. We had someone say they'd just like to solve the problem of humanity. Just humans in general are the problem. The root cause of everything are the humans, and that is what they'd want to solve. Someone else stuck with the theme of the time by saying they'd like to solve the problem of coronavirus, which at this time very apt, very, very in, and would change a lot of how we're seeing the world now if that was just gone. Someone said they'd like to change and solve the world of poverty. Everyone to have enough food on their plate, to have a roof over their head, somewhere they can find warmth, somewhere they can call home. We had someone say that they'd like to solve the problem of discrimination. And we heard in the public video there someone say about equality. Imagine the world where everyone was equal and how different it would be. We had someone say they'd like to solve the problem of people because they do wrong in the world. And as they put it, people are assholes. And we couldn't really argue with that because that is how they saw it. That was their definition of it. Now, Darren said that although it made him sound nerdy, he'd like the world to be more like Star Trek because they are working to better humanity and not themselves. And then we talked about how maybe we'd look at abolishing classes, middle class, lower class, higher class. Why do we need to be put in these classes? Why can't we be equal? Because that would solve a lot of our problems in the world. So we then moved on to our second question. And Darren's going to tell you a bit about that.
Yes, so our second question, which I think we got a little bit confused with this one. We didn't really know how it was, what the actual question was asking. But it was, what are some common lies we believe about ourselves and about God? Now, I think we got partly there with the question and partly not. But let's have a look at what some of the public thought who actually got the question right. And then we'll talk about what our young people said.
I feel like people that they think they're not good enough.
That they know everything.
That they know everything.
That you know everything, which obviously you don't.
I'll do it tomorrow.
I'll do it tomorrow.
I can't do it. I think that's the biggest lie people tell themselves. I can't do something. Like most of them that haven't even tried.
That they believe that they can't do something when they really can do something. Or that they believe they're not beautiful enough, but really they are beautiful.
I feel like lies that people believe about God are that he's no fun.
That he doesn't exist.
He's white, he has white hair, he's in the sky.
Some people may feel as if he don't care, like in their time of struggle.
He doesn't have your best interest at heart.
So that was great to hear what some of the public said. But let's have a listen now to Antony as he tells us what some of our youth said regarding the common lies about themselves.
Yes, as Darren said at the beginning, we were all a bit confused by this, but actually when we got into the question, there was lots of debates and there was a lot of things coming out. So what are some of the lies that we believe about ourselves. And we have people say lies about your looks. So I'm too fat, I'm too old, I eat too much, I'm too thin, I don't wear the right clothes, I don't look good enough. We then had about the mental state of people saying, I'm not educated enough, I'm not kind enough, I'm not thoughtful enough, I'm selfish, I'm not obedient enough as a woman, was one of the ones that came up, which we thought was really fascinating, that actually you see it within different people and what they experience. We had some of the younger ones saying that they don't feel they're not a good enough friend, they're not forgiven enough, not a good enough child, which led on to someone saying, well, sometimes we feel we're not a good enough mum or not a good enough dad. And we just had someone that said, actually, I'm not going to put a label on it. I'm just going to say I'm not good enough. And that was really true from what we were all saying, was although we could split them into categories, that overlying comment there was saying I'm not good enough, because we measure ourselves by other people and how we see other people. We had someone say, actually, one of the lies they tell themselves sometimes is when they fall short of what Jesus taught, for example, love thy neighbor, that makes them not feel good enough. But then they said, actually, you can take words and comfort from the Bible, and that will tell you that actually you are good enough in what you do. Whatever these little lies in your head are, whatever these little thoughts that you're telling yourself, you are good enough. But the question didn't stop there. It then said, what common lies do we hear about God? And Darren's going to tell us a bit about that side of the question.
Yeah, so some of our youth answered this question, and some leaders did as well. But we had these common lies that came out that said God doesn't care. And he doesn't care anymore to get involved in people's lives. Somebody also said that God is an angry God, causing wars and famine, or not getting involved when there's wars and famine. And how can he be a trusting God when there's so much cruel things in the world? Someone also said that he's a cruel God, that he's vengeful. And how can we trust him when he does so much to harm people? Now, as Christians, we know that most of those isn't true. God does not cause wars, and things. Man does that. We have all fallen short of the we've all fallen short of the glory of God, I think is the saying goes. That we just muck things up, because that's what human beings do. We are those that we think, they've got better than me, so let's go start a war and let's take over that country. And they haven't got no food, but we ain't going to send no food to them, even though we chuck away millions of tons of food every day. And do you know what? It's human beings that cause most of these cruelties within the world. When it comes to famine, it can be eradicated by just one person is doing what was said earlier in loving thy neighbor. It doesn't have to be literally your next door neighbor, the person that lives in the house next door to you. It can literally be that country next to you, that country just across the water, even if it is France. No disrespect to French people. I love France. Wonderful. But God isn't a vengeful God. He is a loving God, and he loves everybody. And he doesn't discriminate. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, or what walk of life you've come from. God loves you, and he wants to have a relationship with you. And that's one of the things I want you to take away from question number 2. Because literally, these are the lies that people believe. And when you experience that relationship with God, that's when you can actually see these lies aren't true, that, he is a loving God, that he is there for you, and that he will help you according to his plan. And that's one of the things we spoke about previously in videos. So go check out those videos when we look at, what's God's plan for you. But that led us on to question number 3, which was, what can people do to fight against evil in the world? Now, this was a really good one. But before we go into what our young people said, let's have a look at what some of the public thought.
I think people don't use empathy enough.
I mean, if you know how you want to be treated, treat the other person that way.
You overcome evil with love. Just come together, be united, stay strong.
To me, starting a blog is the most productive because you can actually talk about these things.
The best thing you can do is make that injustice heard.
When you see something that's not right, just say something.
I think what we lack is action and actually being proactive to doing something.
Veganism. Let's do that. I'm not vegan, but it does solve a lot of problems.
I definitely feel like volunteer work is a big part of being able to fight against injustice because you're putting yourself out there for a better cause, and you're also meeting other people that way, and you're just doing things for the better of the world.
So there we saw what some of the public thoughts of the question, what can people do to fight against evil in the world? And as Darren said before we went into this question, this one started quite a bit of a debate within our group where people had ideas of what they could do. Some people disagreed, some people agreed, but actually it turned into a really nice conversation. And I don't know how Darren feels about it, but personally I thought it was one of the best conversations we've had within that group because it just showed everyone's views.
It did. It was an amazing question that actually, in a time that we're living in at the moment with so many things happening around the world, that it was right on point. It was topical. You know, stuff is happening around the world and people have got a view on it. And yeah, it was a really good conversation. And I think we could have gone on a lot longer talking about it. And the thing is, with all of these questions, we're cramming them into just 1 hour. And it's really, really difficult to do when you get to a point like on the very last question at 7:45 in the evening, knowing that we're going to be finishing at 8 o'clock. And it's like, the conversation's going really well, and we've got to try and wrap it up because somebody needed to go for their dinner.
I had reasons. We managed to move it early. Anyway, so some of the answers we had did straight away relate to the issues going on in the world at the moment. Someone said actually a way that you can fight against evil in the world is by having something like a peaceful protest. And for anyone that's seen the news or seen any other media, you'll see there's protests going on all over the world now. Some are peaceful, some are not so peaceful. But we talked about the fact that actually those ones that are really making a difference are the ones that are wanting to do it peacefully, are the ones that are there for the main cause, rather than being there just for a bit of a protest and a chance to get out and about and smash some things up, really. We then had someone say that you can fight against evil by signing petitions, which again is something we're seeing around a lot lately with the use of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. A lot of celebrities promoting petitions, which we have seen do make a difference. Corporations, people, government, anyone up high, they do see the petitions and sometimes they really do make a change. You can write letters to people in higher power. You can say, this is what we feel needs changing. Here's how we suggest it can be done. Here's how we'd like to help. But it's also about not giving up when you know something is right, because change and fight against evil starts with you. If there's something you want to fight against, if there's some sort of change you want to see happen, it starts with you.
Definitely. And one of the things that also came up that somebody said, I think it was actually me that said it, was to elect honest politicians. If you find them, can you comment below and let me know where they are? Because there's so many politicians out there that will say they will do one thing and do the complete opposite, or don't fulfill what they promised to do. And for me, I mean, I studied politics when I was at college, and it's a real bugbear for me when I hear politicians promising all these things and they don't follow through. And I kind of get to the point of thinking, do you know what? That, to me, classes as fraud. And could I bring a case against a politician for fraud? Because they're being elected on a false promise. Who knows? You never know. You might see me in the paper one day. You know, local youth worker sues local MP for breaking a promise. I don't know. Who knows? But it's to stand up to people and to challenge things. And one of the things that are happening at the moment that we see around the world is different leaders of the country. And literally last night, as we were doing Youth Alpha, Donald Trump, obviously, if you haven't heard of him, you've been living under a rock. but he's the president of the United States, just in case. But he was actually banned from platforms on Twitch and Reddit for his hateful speech, I think it was, they said, and just the way he's been putting things across. And that is people standing up. That is people saying, I do not agree with what he's saying. He's going against everything. And people have complained about it. Twitch has then gone, do you know what? We actually agree with you. We are therefore banning him. And Reddit has done the same. And I think Twitter needs to do it as well. And because he's become a president that is more about social media than about leaving his country. But that is just an Englishman's opinion. If you're American, I do apologise. You might see it completely different, but it's what the media gives to us. And in the words of Donald Trump, it's probably fake news. Moving on. It's okay to disagree. Like I just disagreed with some of Donald Trump's things. It's okay to disagree. But when talking about it, we need to be respectful of another person's opinions. Like for me, I would love to sit down with somebody and talk to them about why they elected Donald Trump, because they must see something that I don't. And I'm interested in hearing other people's opinions. We do it within church, we do it within our schools, within our workplace. We have to listen to other people's opinions, and we have to take them on board and think, actually, yeah, your opinion counts. And that's the only way we can become equal. Even if we don't believe in them, we can say to people, do you know what? I don't think that's right. But we still need to respect what they have said. Otherwise, we go down the road that leads to war, that leads to violence. And as you know, we've seen at the moment with the protests happening regarding racial equality, there are the handful of people that go out and cause violence. And that is what media locks onto, and that is what they portray in the news. And by people doing that, the violent side of things, it takes away what people are actually protesting about in the first place. And that moves us on to the last bit, which was change is not easy. So if you are one of those people that have gone out to change things and you go out to protest, don't give up because people are being violent. Stand up to those that are being violent. Tell them what you are doing is not helping us move forward in this cause. And, just don't give up. If you believe passionately about it, don't let anybody put you down. Just go out there and you challenge that bad behavior. You challenge that that law that may be wrong or anything. Be the change that you want to see. And that's one of the things at Catalyst Youth UK that we want to do, is we want to build up young people to make a difference in the world and to be the best that they can be. So when they go out, that they can do this change, that they can stand up and go, this is wrong. I don't believe in this. I don't think this should be happening, and actually getting things done about it. And, if we just see one person come from Catalyst that does that, and that's the whole thing about, the name of Catalyst. If you go into Google and you search what Catalyst means, it will tell you that it's about the change. It's about the movement of things. And it's just, we want to see this movement grow, and we want to see people, or young people, grow to be the best they can be, to go out and make a difference in the world, whether that's with faith or without faith. We're more about building the person up rather than bringing them to a faith. If they get a faith, that's a thumbs up. Our churches will be happy. But if they don't get a faith and they just be a really nice person, that's okay too, because we just want to see you guys be the best of the best.
Absolutely. And there we come to the end of our 10th recap video. We've only got a few left now. But if there's anything you'd like to see us talk about on our platforms, following on from this Alpha course, please drop us a message, because we'll be more than happy to take it on board and to try our best to talk about it. We're not saying we have all the answers. We're not saying everything we say is correct. We're just putting our views out, putting our voices out there, and hopefully being able to spread some of your voices as well. But if you haven't seen the rest of our videos, as I say, you can find them on our YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you receive notifications when a new one gets put up. You can also find on our website, which you can see on the screen now, we are putting up 2 blogs a week, one from myself, one from Darren. We rotate it, and they just focus on different issues that might be affecting our lives, might be affecting your lives, or maybe it's just something that we feel needs to be talked about, as well as a few resources which you can use. So go check them out, share them around, spread them to people that you feel need to hear them or need to read them. As we said at the beginning, if you want to ask us any questions or contact us, you can find our email addresses on the screen. You can send us a message for our website. If you are one of our youth or one of our youth's parents, as Darren said, you've probably got a contact for us anyway, so feel free to use them as well. But I think that's all we have to say for now, except for one more thing.
Bye from him.
It's goodbye from him. See you soon.
Cheers.